Good morning. Hopefully, there's only one stream that you're seeing. Because what I tried to do, because it gave me that usual dumb warning of, hey, you've got two streams going at the same time. Even though I didn't have two streams going. I changed what's called the stream key, which is sort of the internal coding that connects YouTube to the software I have to use. If I change the internal stream key, in theory, I should take care of the problem. But if there's another one, let me know. So, yeah. Jeep guy says there are two streams. No new glasses. No, I haven't used the new things that I got sent in, this week. Mostly just because I've been scrambling. It feels like I was scrambling all week, and now that I've got possibly everything done for the week, it's weird. So, Total War Legendary. I'm sure you saw the Call of Duty trailer, right? You wouldn't know it was a Call of Duty trailer, but they use him, the guy that I call Tom Schumann, because he wrote some peer-reviewed articles under that name. It clearly has him in it. I'm just amazed. The two streams are still going. Are they serious? Okay, hold on. We're going to go to my channel, and I'm going to go into my studio. We're going to go live. Oh, let's see. I don't see two streams. Doesn't even show me two. So, perhaps there are. I'm just not seeing them. I was curious that some can discuss hot topics with no issues. Well, that's how it is. This is a weird place, and this is why I'm considering strongly trying to do one of these streams in the next week or so on DLive. I've never done DLive. I'm not even sure if I was able to, if I'm even able to register, because I think the last time I tried to register, I couldn't even find the register button. It was like you had to be invited or something. Hello to Murphy. Raid Shadow Legends. Nope, I don't actually have a sponsorship from them. So, in fact, I have no sponsorships because that's just how it is. So, let's actually go check out DLive to see what that place is like, because I have never actually even watched something there.
Perfect. We all make mistakes.
And a content creator I like has been unceremoniously removed from this platform. So I know he's also on here. So I'm going to go and open a tab to this for future opening of a thing. So yeah. Thanks for keeping us in your prayers, Ginger. Enjoy your mass. Tony Caesar. If you're on the Heat of the Summer stream, there's a reason I'm not seeing your comments, because YouTube is rather annoyingly showing two streams that I can't even see the second one. Like, I literally cannot see the second one. Oh, there, now I can see it. Okay, hold on. Let me open up my own second stream, and I am now going to see if I can figure out how to find my own stream, because this isn't my stream, because you can't have two streams open. You can get banned for that. I wish they'd fix this, but they've got other things that they're working on. Yeah, like, I can't see the other. I literally, in my control center, I cannot see the second one, so I can't actually do anything about it. It's so maddening. So if you're on the Heat of the Summer stream, once I figure out how to turn it off, I'm going to boot it off. So go over to the Yes, I'm Still Here stream. Because the Heat of the Summer stream was last week. And it shouldn't be there. Whatever. This is one of the reasons why I'm thinking about going to DLive. Like, they're being dumb. Brandy Book is asking for please for prayers for her Nona, who has passed away. Murphy's wishing us blessings from Ireland. Yes, Mod, I'm aware that there are double streams. I'm going to figure out how to cancel that other one. Bailey says they heard a strange voice in the background saying we all make mistakes. Well, I don't know what that was about. How am I doing today? Asks a bunch of letters. I'm doing all right today. So far. I've got some housework and yard work to do, so Should they make an anime about the Detroit baptisms? If you like anime and you're not watching just the gross kind, sure, why not? So, Verum, you mentioned that other video platform, and I have to approve your comment. But thank you for saving the links in case the thing really does happen. Yeah. I'm probably going to go through my channel and find all those videos I did back then and do them. Well, Mod, this is the one that's supposed to actually be live. The heat of the summer one is not the one that's live. So maybe I'll open it and just see what happens. But from Guggles and Youth, yeah. Roseanne Rossi, welcome. Glad you made it. Please keep the videos coming. Yes, I plan to, David. Thanks for your guys' patience this week about 2 videos back to back that were very short, telling you where you can actually find today's content, because that's not normally how I do things. And the We Were Warned one, I kind of had a feeling about when I uploaded it, but the other one sort of, well, I knew as soon as I read it before I even recorded it, there was no way. No way. Tony Caesar heard the same. We all make mistakes. It was your friendly host monitoring the stream and forgot to mute when you commented about the 2 streams. There you go. Hada says problem with anime is most of it is disgusting. This is true. Murphy tells me to go to a new alt. I might, if I can find it. I wish there was a version of what's called Hootsuite. If you don't know what Hootsuite is, it's a social media managing app that years and years ago, when I had a job, a campus job in a university where I had to manage a university university social media accounts, I had to use Hootsuite, where instead of going to the organization's Facebook and Twitter and all the other things, I could just go into this one app and schedule all these posts in one place. It was great. And I wish I had something like that for video social media. Yeah, and Teresa, again, there's nothing that seems that I can do about this until the platform fixes the problem. They did some changes, and I know I'm not the only one who's affected by it. I saw one of the sort of nerd commentators that I like. He was talking about this in a live stream and how he was being much more angry than I am about it. But then again, I don't curse in my videos, and he does. So thanks for the kind words, Debbie. Appreciate it. How does the 2 streams happen? Teresa asks. They made some changes. That's how it happens. The heat of summer popped in your vacation and still here went live, so something cached. Yeah, it's the heat of the summer one was last week's, and then they gave me 2 live ones at the same time, and I managed to delete the last week's one, but not this week's. Very good. Very good, Debbie. If you do start one, if you have any questions about technical stuff, send me an email. Occasionally I get emails from people trying to start Catholic podcasts, and they want to know like what kind of equipment to use and everything else. And if you want to know, just send me an email. I'll tell you the things that are good for starting up. IFTTT is a good replacement for Hootsuite, says Tom K. I'll have to remember that. I'll definitely have to go look into that. Just because, people want me to upload everything to that other video place, and then they say, add these other places, and if it was easier to do, I would. Have I seen the JoJo series? I don't know what that is. There are gross anime, says Tony Bryan. That's news to me. You should watch Food Wars. Is Food Wars one of those competition shows on the Food Networks? I wouldn't know. Oh, JoJo is one of the worst ones of all, says Hada. There you go. And it can be awesome when they're not made by obsessed or deranged people. Yeah, this is true. Did I see the woman attack another lady in church? Yes, I saw that. I saw the video. I saw the video on Twitter. I'm not even certain I can make a video about that, to be honest with you. Not all things are equal. Nick Cardone. I watch Catholic anime every Sunday night with my 20 children. Wow. Thank you, Roseanne. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Now let's go to everyone's favorite news site that I like to use when I'm doing streams because the headlines are so painful. NovenaNews.com. Spanish bishop hits out at irresponsible affliction, counter signalers will say, as priest says 4 public masses after coming down with it. Oh, wonderful. Once upon a time, during these kinds of situations that were much worse historically, the priests would say masses because people had a better understanding of the need for sacraments. Headline from Pope Francis. In general audience, Pope deplores sick economy, the fruit of unequal growth that disregards fundamental human values. Let's see. Pax Christi denounces... I can't even say that stuff either, all right. Actually, Cardinal Dolan, God is partisan. God takes the side of the poor. Remember, this is people who are upset that Cardinal Dolan was speaking to at a certain convention while they were okay with Pastor Jimmy Martin speaking at the other one. That tells you how just disordered things are right now in the church. U.S. lay people criticize lack of accountability in Vatican order that disgraced bishop pay back only a fraction of misused funds. Yeah, there's a story out there of a bishop who essentially was, embezzling funds or something, and he got caught and has to pay back some of it. And people are mad that he's not having to pay back all of it, because if you've ever known anybody who went through those kind of legal situations, and I actually knew somebody who did, they had to pay back every penny. Of course, that's the secular courts, not the, not the church courts. Oh, here's a weird headline. Ahead of Season of Creation, European Church stress need for just and sustainable balance between economy and ecology. I should do a video about this. I have an idea now that my dissertation is done and been accepted by the university, I have an idea for a book that I might write on this. It'll have a very provocative title and be very almost like the opposite of my dissertation. But if I decide to do that, I'll let you guys know once I'm, far enough along that it looks like I'll actually finish it. But this article is hilarious. Ahead of Season of Creation, European churches stress need for just and sustainable balance between economy and ecology. Oh boy. How could you succinctly explain why Laudato Si is bad, problematic to normies? Because it's a distortion of the relationship between human beings and nature. I can make you a Catholic argument for protecting the environment. And in fact, I do in my dissertation. I call it deicentrism. Classically, in the environmental literature, there's a divide between the anthropocentrism and biocentrism. Anthro meaning human, so human-centered, and then biocentrism is sort of a catch-all for a group of divergent philosophical schools that all basically say, regardless of the human cost, the environment must be protected, whereas anthropocentrism takes a more human-centered approach. And I posit a deocentric position that could be used by any religion, really, which is one of the reasons I did it. That says it's our relationship with God that suggests why we should actually respect, the work of His creation. But, Teresa Nelson, anyone see Last Blood? You mean the new Rambo movie? I've seen all of the Rambo movies at least once in my life, and that one's the worst. Far and away. How's keto going? I'm stalled, but, I'll just push through it. Joe, happy to see you, Jaron. Is there a concern? I don't know if I want to... is there an alternative to YouTube that's friendly to right-wing viewpoints? I don't want a echo chamber platform. That's the problem. GFDTH, I had to approve your comment. Any more word on the Fatima movie and documentary? The Fatima movie appears to be moving forward. I have not seen word one about the documentary. I know because when I sat down to make my video for Friday, that's what I looked for. I was like, okay, can I find an update on this? And I found nothing. The movie seems to be going forward, though, and that is not what my Friday video is about. The patrons and members of the channel, they all have access to my Friday video already. I don't know if anybody's even watched it yet. Let me go find out. Go to my studio here, and I will see if anybody actually watched my Friday video, because... oh yes, my Friday video is about Cardinal Zen. So, because he has said some things, he's decided to enter the debates. Hada, my dissertation is done. So universities accept my committee accepted it. I had to make some minor changes to the formatting for the university, and a very helpful listener actually has been very, very helpful in all that, because I'm not very good with the formatting stuff, and he managed to, looks like very short amount of time, got it all done for me, which is great, and it is appreciated. Why does the Moloch Party insist on defending horrible criminals? Is the water filter salesman onto something with the rampant? The rest I can't say. I don't think he's wrong at all about that stuff. Why do they insist on defending? Because they've embraced what I call like the politics of Twitter and Tumblr. That's what they've done. And they're in a bubble. They don't realize just how alienating that is for the general people out there. What was that confusion thing covered by LifeSite yesterday about Francis backing? That nun? I'm not sure. I barely saw that story. He said some positive words about a controversial nun. That's all I know, and I'm not surprised if it got misreported. Yeah, Hada, for those of you who are curious about like the Last Blood movie, Hada has got this good recommendation here in the chat. Go check out Critical Drinker's review of it. He does curse a little bit in his videos, so be warned, but I'm a fan of Critical Drinker. I enjoy his content a lot. But yeah, he's a tad on the vulgar side. So if you can't handle it, of course, don't do it. But if that's the kind of thing that doesn't bother you, then check him out. I like his stuff. So, do I think of Emmerich's prophecy on the two popes? I've actually done a video on the two popes, Shlomo. Go check it out. Just do a search by Emmerich, by the name Emmerich. There'll be a few of them. That reminds me, I do a call out at the end of my video for Saturday, my second video for Saturday, asking if y'all would want me to do a talk on the to do a video or a podcast on the Pope will flee Rome subject. Now that we're far enough away, I think, from when Benedict left Rome, I feel like I can do that without it being sensationalized. So if you guys want me to do that, let me know. It'll only be with approved sources, though, and no Garen Bendal or the rest of it, just approved sources. So let me know if you want that. Thanks for the congrats for people. Did you receive your email on BW Dempsey's works? Dingo, yes. I have 180 emails in my inbox, but I saw the subject matter, and I have 180 emails in my inbox right now. Every time I catch up, it's like a day later, I'm back to it. I tend to agree with your what you say there, Tom. How our culture has inverted what a saint is to take and make it to the people who are like the opposite of that into saints. Murphy says, if you want to lose weight, all you have to do is give up all carbohydrates. Well, I'm on a ketogenic diet, so I functionally have done that, and I'm not going on a what you would call a carnivore diet, because that just doesn't seem healthy. Sabat has given you a partial link for the Critical Drinker's Last Blood review if you're looking for it. You just got to go to youtube.com and then drop in the everything from the /forward. Teresa, if you haven't seen, like, the last two of Stallone's movies in that series have been like that. His movie Rambo that came out in like 2006 or 2008 was exactly like that too. It was much more, I would say, an 80s style action movie with modern levels of like almost like modern horror movie levels of violence. It was, he didn't hold anything back, and he did the same thing in Last Blood. But the problem is Last Blood didn't have the human interest story. Like, go back and watch First Blood, that classic Rambo movie from like 79 or 80. That movie is a human interest story. It's about like veterans and all the things they deal with. That's what that movie's about. It's not, I wouldn't even call it an action film, and it's so good. But, I do love the basic tier level of diet advice I'm getting in the chat. I know how to diet people. It's just sometimes it's hard staying, dodging those curveballs life throws at you, We attempted to find videos, articles covering the heresies promoted by Father Michel Rodriguez. You failed to locate. Do you have links to those nearby? I don't, because the website I saw them on is behind a paywall. So that's why. but it's like a laundry list. It's not good. That's why I'm not a. This is why this is why I always tell everybody the same thing. When you look at, if you hear things like the rapture from someone or them citing Medjugorje, those should be gigantic red flags. If you hear, stuff that sounds like pop Christianity, that's the problem. Cheap guy, yeah, I do eat a lot of cauliflower rice. It's good stuff, better than regular cauliflower. Tom K is endorsing the first and third Rambo. Yeah, Rambo 3 is usually considered the one that didn't age that well, but I think a lot of people these days would find it very, just the kind of thing where you'll quietly cheer for what's going on if you really understand what he's doing in that. Top 5 movies? I don't know. It changes all the time, so... How much do I bench? Before everything got shut down in March, I was doing 225 on a barbell bench press for reps. So I was doing 4 sets of trying to get to 10 reps. And I was at the place where I was doing 10 reps per set on the first 2, and then pretty close on the second and third, or on the third and fourth. After everything reopened and after the weird injuries I've had outside the gym, after 8 weeks of being out of the gym without being able to do any kind of chest work, and then the gym injuries I had afterwards, that dropped significantly down to like 200 pounds. I'm trying to get it back. Plus, I'm on a keto diet, and I wasn't at the time. Dingo, I don't know enough about the new Fatima movie that's coming out this week. Is that even on streaming, or is that in the few theaters that are open? Like in my area, the theaters aren't reopening until next week. Have I ever heard of them? You must be relatively new here. Every other week I seem to promote tell people to check out Ascent of Mount Carmel. I always tell people, hey, go check out his series on the New American Bible. You'll never read that Bible again after you watch all 12 parts. It'll take about an hour to go through it. But and I'm from the area where Bob's Red Mill is from, actually. I can't eat it. It's I'm on a ketogenic diet. I can't eat any kind of cereals, but Would you say, though, that there was a human interest story in Last Blood before the gore? I mean, sort of. He was clearly trying to tackle some of those kind of hot button issues, right? About what the story about the girl that was kidnapped in that movie. That's what it was about. And he was trying to. It just wasn't. I expect better from him because he's much, much more than an action film star, right? He actually can write and has been nominated for Academy Awards in his past for both acting and writing. So that's why I was a little bit surprised. Not to say he always makes great movies. I mean, he did make The Expendables, which are delightful in a bad kind of way. Check for Stare. You found a great recipe for Mexican cauliflower rice. You agree it's delicious. I like to put the Mexican rice seasoning, because you can buy little packets of it that have almost no carbs in it, on cauliflower rice, and all of a sudden it turns it into essentially the kind of stuff you get in a Mexican restaurant, but that version. Shlomeo says he started ignoring Father Michel Rodriguez when he spoke of miraculous metals being satanic just because of the positioning of the stars. I mean, come on. Right, the miraculous metal has countless miracles associated with it. I'm going to take the authority of the church over him. Broccoli rice is great too. I've never had broccoli rice. I like broccoli by itself. She'll be streamable on Amazon and Apple TV by the 28th. Okay, I'll have to go check it out because I have Prime for shipping. So, and for the first 3 years I had Prime, I didn't even watch a single video on it. And they finally started sending me emails saying, hey, you're not getting your full benefit out of this, right? So, and as the streaming services go, they're not Netflix, which is good. So, yeah, I'll check that out. And maybe I'll do a review of it if I find it. Watch Hacksaw Ridge, real story about a man at war who refused to carry a firearm due to his conscientious objection. Didn't want to take a life. He saved everybody at Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah, I've heard that was really good, an underrated war film. No problem, Roseanne. I've lost subscribers because I describe Medjugorje as a satanic hoax, even though I know that people go, but the fruits. I'm like, well, you're only citing the positive fruits. If you start talking about the negative fruits, it becomes pretty obvious. Nick Cardone says, bread is for the weak. The Mongols conquered the entirety of the steppes and the Middle Kingdom and Eastern Europe on a diet of meat and cheese. Yeah, they did. There are some good and healthy carbs. I'm being reminded, yes, there are, I know. But I'm on a ketogenic diet trying to lose weight. The trick is getting off it. Verum, about Father Rodriguez says Medjugorje is an obvious no-go for us, but the more I find, the better. It's helped to misinformed Catholics avoid false teachings or teachers. Was this paywall Tridcat Nights? Yeah, it was. He's got a really good list of them. Like, he watched some of his videos and just started writing down all the errors. I mean, say what you want about Eric, but, you know, he's very, very meticulous about this stuff. Do I think Tenet is going to be a sequel to Inception? I think I've seen part of a trailer of Tenet, so I don't know enough about it to comment. Put salba seeds in all your food, great omega-3 and fiber. I don't know what salba seeds are, but I'm intrigued if you want to send me information about it. Slomeo says that Father Rodriguez claimed the stars are positioned in such a way that one star is directly on top of the cross on the reverse of the medal, then it is counterfeit satanic metal. Buy your Catholic medals and things not from, like, Target, because I've seen crucifixes and, like, St. Christopher medals and other things there, but buy them from, like, you know, monasteries or good Catholic bookstores or good Catholic websites. How do we recommend our priests say from the pulpit that voting the way you're suggesting is a mortal sin? You talk to them about it. You point out what the church has said about it. You'd be prepared to be told, but my personal conscience. And if that's the case, you may want to start looking for a new parish because you've got a priest who doesn't understand things at the basic level. Dodging the curveballs, do you mean donut holes? I don't know what you're referring to. I remember making a curveball statement. Oh, you mean like, oh, no. I mean like being out on the, out and about with the family for a lot longer during the day than I was anticipating. Things like that. Because gas stations have protein shakes and bags of peanuts, and those are the safest things that I can have. Like all those, low sugar or sugar-free keto cookies and cereal bars are not healthy. They're actually really terrible for you because the sugar alcohol will knock you right out of ketosis and make you stall out, which is what happened to me. AMDG says, won't the weight just come back when you get off keto? The trick is transitioning off, and I've never had any luck doing it. Like, I've lost all the weight I needed to before. It was transitioning off. I did it way too quickly, and I fell into eating things I shouldn't be because of it. The only thing you didn't like about Hacksaw Ridge was the main character was a Seventh-day Adventist. Well, I'm sure the movie's about American GIs, so don't be too surprised. Thoughts on Man of Steel? Love the score. I like it, but it's not a good Superman movie. If you want to watch a Superman movie, go watch Christopher Reeves. I mean, he's pure positivity, right? Like, I don't think there's anything really problematic in that movie. Teresa Nelson says, you had friends whose daughter passed horribly. Her father gave up life after reading how mother died a year later. They were very dear friends. It puts it in a different light. Right. Always remember to pray for your friends and family in that way, Rosanna Rossi says, Mother Miriam said to have enough food for 3 months, meat and cheese. It's a good idea. People go, oh, that's hoarding food. Our Lord would never tell anybody to hoard food. If you believe that, go read the account of Joseph in the Old Testament and how he knew bad times were coming and he stored food for like 7 years and managed to feed fed his people for 7 years. I'm sorry, Mary Woolley. Hi, Anthony. The subjects you were discussing are not appearing on the live chat. Also, no post since 3:15. Maybe they're not making it across the Atlantic. Are you watching the Yes, I'm Still Here stream? Because, you're commenting here on the Yes, I'm Still Here stream. For some reason now, I can't even turn off that other stream, which is really amazing. Oh, now I can. So, we're going to private to that one, and then when I'm done, I'm going to delete it. So, if you were still on that other one, you should probably have been kicked off at this point. What are my thoughts on Countdown to the Kingdom? Do you follow any of that? And I don't. I don't follow any of that. Have I seen Faustina, Love and Mercy? No. Drink the chocolate. Nick is just being contrarian in the chat today. No keto for me. You're better as a vegan, except you love meat. Yeah, I can't do the vegan thing. I actually gained a bunch of weight doing an experiment for a sort of green economics course. That experiment was funny too. It was eating meat only like twice a week, and I was supposed to keep a log. I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I'll try it. And man, by the end of that week, or by the end of that semester at school, I had gained 20 pounds. It was the most strange thing. Tom K. Henry Cavill is a good Superman, but a better man from U.N.C.L.E. I think Henry Cavill could be like probably the best Superman. Like could potentially has the potential to be like the best Superman. The problem is the writing. Superman's supposed to be a symbol of hope, not brooding. Let's see. You should have about a year worth of food and water. It says Brian O'Connor. There's nothing wrong with that either if you can get it. Adam, I heard, is going to be on pay-per-view channel. Well, that won't surprise me. I'll check to see if it is. If it's coming out the 28th, that's 2 days from now. I'll check like Saturday on Amazon, see if it's available. And if I have to pay for it, I'll pay for it. I mean, it's $3-4. That's why you guys support. That's part of the reason you guys support the work of the channel. So, all vegans and vegetarians are not allowed to eat animal crackers, says Jeep Guy. You heard it here first. Veganism? What are we, Eastern Orthodox? I tend to agree, actually. All right, let's go check everyone's favorite headline aggregator, Canon 212, with the most hilarious headlines that I often can't read. German bishops say talks with Rome on parish documents include the laity. Dang it. Remember, they're trying to democratize the church. The rich are too rich. The political authority has the right and duty to regulate the right to ownership for the sake of the common good. Oh boy, let's see what this is. Oh, that's what... Oh, Pope Francis's the text of Pope Francis's general audience on the 26th of August, where he is citing apparently John Paul II in restricting private property, which goes beyond what Catholic social teaching typically says. So, I'm thoroughly enjoying watching Nick Sandman's the reaction to him on Twitter by the verified blue checkmark types who are just mad, even though he's won like almost every single case of his since everything went down. Priests are reporting mass attendance has significantly dropped since March. Maybe that's something I should do a video on. Because, like, that is a seriously bad news story, and people don't understand. Oh, let's see. We just bought a mixer with all the pasta attachments since they make it so easy. Our whole hand roller is an heirloom now. Roseanne, I bought from my wife's birthday is in March. Before March, I ordered a pasta maker from Italy. The website says it's delayed. So my hope is that it arrives in time for Christmas. That'll be the longest wait time I've ever had. But this is an Italian-made hand-crank pasta maker. It's beautiful. Haddo says, in the Catechism of St. Pius X, he mentions that if you're given a Protestant Bible, you should dispose of it or give it to the parish priest. Is it good to keep one or two for reference purposes? I would say if you are of the type of person who should, sure, but most people, that's not a good idea. Teresa Baker Carl says she read a review of Fatima, that it was good. I want to read a review of it, but from like Fatima sources. You know what I mean? Like the Fatima Center and these kinds of groups, because I thought I'd heard mixed things about it. Like almost every movie about the faith, there's always usually something people point out. Mike Rogan wishes blessings from Evansville, Indiana. Man of Steel and following sequels, they literally made Superman into Christ. Well, Superman has always been in Hollywood been used as a sort of a metaphor for our Lord. It's a very clumsy metaphor too. We'll see. I if I can find a way to do it, I'm going to check out the Snyder Cut because I'm a kind of a nerd, but just to see if it's any better. Why don't our shepherds address the issue of not supporting any candidate who supports a word I can't use on YouTube? And if you do, why aren't they excommunicated? Because, Charlotte, most of them are supporters of that party. That's why. And they don't really find that issue at all compelling. That's the state of things right now. Here in India, every decision of the church is done in the synodal way. Of course it is, Jared. And what I know of the history of the faith in India, I'm actually not surprised. Stephanie says that she thinks we'd be better off with stricter penance. We in the West had real fasting and real dietary sacrifice at one point. We did, and things have been getting loosened up and loosened up and loosened up since like the 13th century. At some point, we got to like dial it back a little bit and make things a little harder. Why not just eat the veggies instead of eating the cattle that eat the veggies? Because meat provides protein and other things that are harder to get in vegetables. I am not a baseball fan, Nick. My wife is, but I'm not. And these days I won't watch pro sports because I like my pro sports as a distraction from everything going on in the world, not at the focal point of it. Shlomo Eo says that mass attendance at the SSPX chapels in England have increased. Right. I've noticed that the mass attendance at the FSSP parish I go to is also increased in Tulsa. So I think a lot of people are looking for the faith unfiltered and not softened, and so they're actually deciding this is a great time to check out traditional parishes. Let's see. Jal says she has severe arthritis. I'm a grandma and love these Catholic YouTubes. You eat to live, not live to eat. That's why I'm on my ketogenic diet. Like, it helps to restore order with a disordered eating habit. I mean, if you're obese and it's not a glandular problem, and for most people it's not, even the ones who say it is, most people it's not. It's not to discount the ones who do have a real one. I actually feel for them because nobody believes them. You get fat with some sort of, typically people get fat like I did through disordered eating habits. And so, ketogenic diet's a good way to restore order that way, because getting, protein and fat and veggies, lots and lots of veggies when I'm smart about it. Katie says, mass attendance at your FSSP parish are way up. We're having mass in the parish gym for social distancing, and I don't know how we're going to fit back in our little church. Good problem to have when it gets to it. Teresa Baker Carl went vegan because of protein can be bad for the kidneys. Well, there you go. I lift weights, so my body uses the protein, but you don't. Most people, especially women, don't need more than like 25, 30 grams of protein a day anyway. So, Jaron is skeptical that John Paul II was a saint. When people push back on that view, I always just tell them that it's wise to accept what the church says, but at the same time, bear in mind who canonized him, and know full well that at some point in the future, this whole papacy is going to get addressed. It's going to have to. Teresa Baker Carl says the Fatima movie review came from the Fatima Center. Okay, that's reassuring actually. If they thought it was good, then I'm more open-minded. Mike Rogan counters the comment about John Paul II with the traditionalist parish priest said that the demons hate John Paul II. I've heard that before too, that exorcists invoke him because they hate that name. So that might be points in his favor. Hada says, mass going down really, as a lot of people before you have in their comments, their triad parishes are going up. Your local SSPX parishes had a nice little bump in attendance as well. Right. Well, these are 99% of parishes in the world, in the Latin Rite anyway, are Novus Ordo. That's what they're talking about. Should we get conditionally baptized just in case? Better safe than sorry. Well, problem you're going to run into that, Tom, is you're going to have a hard time getting permission to get conditionally rebaptized. Had a great KitchenAid. Roseanne says, your son got one and your husband tried it at his house. We had to have it since he was the one who always makes the noodles. That was one way I wanted to do it, but the Italian made one, it's a nice one, and I got a good deal on it. So, Son of Crit says he notices here that the Byzantine church that he goes to suddenly has more people. This is true. Remember, traditionalism isn't just for the Latin Rite. The Eastern rites have done a much better job of hanging on to their traditions, for the most part. JP2 was instrumental in the fall of the Soviet Union. Perhaps that would be one of the reasons they hate him. Could be. Well, let's see. Mary's Nest has a turmeric milk recipe for arthritis. So that's the other thing. We're on a weird topic of health today. Instead of what's going on. But then again, August is a slow month in the news, and things are about to get real interesting. September is when things usually start to pick up again, especially in election years like we're in now. But turmeric is wonderful for I've stopped taking my daily supplements because turmeric will actually block hamper your ability of your body to absorb vitamins from supplements. At least that's what I've been told by numerous trustworthy sources on it. But I used it for the secondary injury I had to my knee, which was a strained, or it was I believe a strained calf. And it's still swollen a little bit. But as soon as, within a day of me taking the turmeric, I noticed the swelling was going down. It was wonderful for that. But I also bought some really good quality turmeric. Don't skimp when it comes to that supplement. Spend the $30 on the, 60 capsules. It's worth it, and you probably won't use all of them anyway for whatever you're dealing with. Roseanne Rossi, yes, in general we do eat too much. My target calorie consumption per day, I'm weight training while trying to lose weight, so my target calorie consumption is just under 1,700 a day. That's not much. Mediterranean diet is very healthy, more fish, salmon, a little chicken, and great fats and oils. Yeah, not a big fan of fish though. That's why I actually eat fish on Fridays, and I always bristle when my friends are like, "Hey, let's go get sushi on Friday." I'm like, I love sushi. Don't eat that on Friday. That's not a penitential food. It sort of defies, if your favorite thing in the world is salmon, then maybe don't eat it on a Friday, because kind of the spirit of the thing. Let's see. If we say an act of perfect contrition and are restored to a state of grace by God without confession, do we merit for heaven? I think that's what the church says, kosher, but you're forgetting the one problem. An act of perfect contrition is very hard. Very, very, very hard. This is why I would never bank on that. Nick says, you went to confession at a Novus Ordo this past Saturday. The priest used an invalid form. Should you write the archdiocese? The priest also goes outside the rubrics frequently. Make sure that it's an actual invalid form, and then I would go to confession with another priest and explaining the confession what happened. Make sure it's a priest you trust. I had a story where something like that happened, where I was told where something was an unequivocal mortal sin that I was confessing to a priest who was retired and had been ordained initially in the silly season after the council. He said that what I was confessing wasn't that big a deal, just say an act of contrition next time I'm at Mass and receive, go up and receive, and then go to confession later. Thankfully, he absolved me and did it in the way that you're supposed to. But I still went to confession the next morning with my parish priest, who's an FSSP priest, and explained in the confessional what happened. And he was like, "This wasn't one of our priests, was it?" So that's what I would do. You should never have to put up with the sacraments being used incorrectly that way. Dr. Mold says something slightly crass. If you eat less, you also use less toilet paper. Will save you when the next run occurs. Just go to Costco or Sam's Club and buy the 900 pack of toilet paper. That way when the next thing happens, you'll be like, well, my family of 3 or 4 is set for the next 6 months. I'm not worried. Jaron says the Eastern Rite in India, especially the Syro-Malabar Church, is so liberalized. You can see the difference in the liturgy when you were younger and now, and you're only 17. That's interesting. I know there's a Syro-Malabar Rite in Oklahoma City near me. I've never been, and it doesn't surprise me, actually. In fact, I've probably been near their parish, because right after things reopened, my wife and I were driving out and about just before I went back to low carb, and in fact, I was in I may as well go have lunch someplace I'm not going to be able to go to for the next year and a half. And so we went to an Indian place, and I suspect they were pretty close to that parish. Brat's mom, you used to go to an adult mass, and since the thing, you must have a ticket to attend, and no ticket unless you're a parishioner. You don't belong because you will not support Cupcake. That's unfortunate. I've never had that problem at my parish or in my diocese. But then again, I don't have Cardinal Supich as my bishop, so I would just go and this is why I get so mad when I hear people reporting gross distortions about the SSPX and the issues they have. It just makes me mad because there are people out there who have this militant anger and bias against them. They're providing the sacraments in places when no one else will. Right, so this is where I would suggest you start looking at them if you don't have the FSSP near you. And I suspect, without looking, that you should have at least an FSSP parish in your town, if not an Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest, because it's the Midwest, and that's where most of them are. But the SSPX are almost certainly in Chicago. They'd have to be. Teresa Baker Carl, September surprise is coming, but who knows what that means? I have no idea what. Usually that stuff happens in October. I suspect they're going to try to blame the incumbent on the affliction. For the affliction, they're going to try to place it all on him. He's the one who told everybody to shut down. He's the one. Most people aren't going to be dumb enough to fall for it, but Roseanne says the Byzantine give all the sacraments at infancy. Your sister-in-law was Byzantine. Their wedding was very long. Right. But they also wear crowns. I believe they actually put on crowns at their wedding too, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Your great-grandmother was married in the Byzantine, right? Cool. Hada says sushi isn't penitential, darn. Right, like, eating like artisan foods on a penitential day seems really strange to me, and crafting sushi is an art. Jackie Forsey just responds to Roseanne saying she wants to get the KitchenAid pasta press. Your daughter's perfected pasta making during this recent yeah. Learn how to make these things at home. Flour is cheap, right? And it used to be that if you had what would be considered like 6 months of flour on hand, that wasn't all that unusual because it was a staple. Apologies if you can hear an local flying aircraft overhead. I live within the takeoff and landing patterns of a municipal airport, but no, having that stuff on hand is good. Philanthropic Chick says they saw the movie The Vatican Deception about Fatima's Third Secret. You loved it. Email me a link to that if you would. Not in the chat, because the chat will filter it out. And most of the time I can't even see links when you try to share them, so I can overwrite it. So send me an email with a link to that. I'd actually like to see it, as long as that's not from the Diamond Brothers. If they are, do not promote them in my channel at all. I will ban people for that. Don't eat sushi on Friday. No, it's my go-to. I mean, okay, I give a pass. What I would say that doesn't count for that is grocery store sushi, because that stuff's not sushi. That stuff is to sushi what a McDonald's cheeseburger is to like a good cheeseburger off your grill or off of a nicer like pub style restaurant. Have I watched the series Chosen? No, Marie, I have not, because anything that shows Our Lady having birth pains is heresy, and you should avoid it. Vatican Deceptions by Paul Stark. Okay, yeah. Email me a link where I can watch that online. Philanthropic Chick. I'll watch that. Varum reminds us we should never count on the perfection of our contrition. This is why confessionals are crucial, and why proxies are in deep trouble. This is true. Sharon tells us that the Syro Malabar Rite is actually pretty traditional in the U.S. Okay, that's good to know. They use the Syriac parts too. That's interesting, because I'm only familiar with the Syriac parts of the Mass by going to the Maronite liturgy, which I haven't done in several years. But that was the most Novus Ordo of all the Eastern rites. What is the lighthearted hill that you're willing to die on with respect to my hobbies? I find the Calvinist tendencies among Catholics about like popular music to be alarming, to be honest with you. Don't listen to things that are clearly promoting impurity. But come on, people do need to lighten up a little bit. Just don't get immersed in the stuff. Imagine a father who says to his kids, choose whatever religion you want. I should stop there, David. That's the stuff that gets you banned on this platform. So, again, please, I said this last week, and I got really short with people last week. Please remember that this is a place that doesn't like things, okay? Brad's mom, you do go to the SSPX. You just got a new pastor last week. At least it's all traditional. Very good. Yeah, they did do their parish reassignments recently. I heard through the grapevine that the Oklahoma City SSPX chapel just had their priest reassigned, and he was replaced by his cousin, which is kind of funny. Most SSPX guys claim the FSSP was made just to counter the SSPX. Is that true? I would say it's true in a technical way, but the big divisions are mostly in the United States now. Yeah, I'm aware of how big the SSPX are in Kansas. The SSPX parish in St. Mary's, Kansas has 4,000 members of their parish. They're building a cathedral-sized parish there. It's incredible. If you haven't seen the video of that, you should go watch that. It's a computer-generated image they're using because it's not built yet, but they're raising the funds for it, and they're almost there. It's amazing. Ryan says we have churches every 10 blocks here in Kansas City. All the NO parish masses require online registration, and the TLM mass at another parish does not. Makes going to the TLM the easy choice, learning it now. Very good. Don't be afraid to ask questions of people. Like I usually at my parish try to spot the people who are new to the traditional mass, and because you can usually tell because they look slightly nervous when they walk in because they've all heard the stories on the internet about people about people in our circles. And so I try to help them out a little bit and be nice and helpful. Also, please rein in your veil police at your parish. They're not helpful. They're not helpful at all. And I've actually known people who are turned off to the traditional mass because of the veil police. It's one of those things you work into about later. Nelson says Whitmer does she wants. She won't be bullied into opening businesses. Well, she's going to she's going to face the voters at some point. David Johnson, anyone know a good Byzantine monastery? No, I don't. He lived 8 years in one in Syria. Our order's only monastery. God, wow. David, I don't know. There should be. I mean, you should be able to Google that about Byzantine monasteries in like the United States. Jackie Foresteri says your SSPX parish has added a second mass. It seems like both masses have the same amount of people at each. I think that means more people coming to her chapel now. It probably does mean more people. My FSSP one now has 4 masses on Sunday and with 1 priest. Like, he's exhausted by the end of the Sunday, but he does what he has to. Resnick has a bit of a problem with how the Byzantine Rite consecrates the bread using a sword-type instrument. How do you, the Church, feel about this? If they're in full communion with Rome, trust me, they've the Vatican knows about it. That knows that they do that and are fine with it. Roseanne Rossi, your mother-in-law bought 25-pound bags of flour. Your husband's job was to turn the crank. Nice. I live in a place that in a town that's small enough that the big flour mill here in town. If you live in the Midwest and you've ever seen Shawnee Mills flour, that's the town I live in. It's where it's made. And at 8 o'clock in the morning and around noon and around 4:30 or 5, you can hear their work horn, telling people to come to work, or hey, your shift's over, or hey, lunch or whatever. You can hear that. Like, I heard it at 8 o'clock in the morning when I was chatting with my wife this morning. Hada says that you have 6 masses in St. Mary's. Nice. Teresa says her kids have a fond memory of spaghetti hanging all over Grandpa's kitchen. Homemade spaghetti. Right, my wife handmade some pasta, and I mean, she would be the first to tell you that it didn't turn out super great, but it was still delicious. Like, the dry stuff you buy at the store is convenient and good for like long-term food storage. Hint, hint. If you're looking for long-term food storage, what with winter coming and, round 17 or whatever we're on of the thing, it might be a good idea to have some of this stuff, and if you feel bad about it, just plan that, you'll laugh at how silly we all got about it, and you'll donate it all to your parish's food pantry when needed. But that stuff sits forever, but, so does bags of flour if you store it properly. Ruslan, you are the second person to ask me about Countdown to the Kingdom this week. I get asked about it every week. I have never been to the website. Xenia says that she always thinks of Jesus' crown of thorns as a nuptial gift he accepted from the Father. I would say that's part of it, but I think it's a sign of his of his royalty, of his social reign of Christ as king. Shlomeo says of the Diamond Brothers, they're apparently the only 2 real Catholics left in the whole wide world. Well, they're taking the remnant thing very seriously. Charlotte Pettit, are our souls comprised by our liberal priests? If they're teaching things other than the faith, then yes. This is why I tell people, if you're in that situation, start looking elsewhere. They'll have fun during the illumination of conscience. Yeah, probably they will. Great memories of grandparents' old house and habits, says Roseanne. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother had this, it was like a cucumber salad she'd make that had a wonderful dressing. And I still remember how it tastes, but I've never found a dressing that tasted like it. Little things like that. Shlomeo, what illumination? The illumination of conscience. I did Marie-Julie Johenney spoke of it briefly. Some unapproved apparitions do too, but go watch my Marie-Julie Johenney videos if you haven't. If you're not familiar with the work, you'll find it interesting. I need to do a follow-up to some of that this coming month. SSPX priest came to give your uncle last rites during the lockdown. The SSPX priests are the ones actually taking the risks. This is why I have zero tolerance for all the calumny against them. Stephanie, Catholic megachurch? Well, I mean, 4,000-seat church is not a megachurch, but it's a big church, like cathedral. It looks like a cathedral, and it's modeled after a classic, beautiful parish. Hada says that he's excited about the new cathedral. You're actually helping its funding. Very good. Good on you for that. It's like, Hada, if you want to email me a link to that video you guys have, I will put that in the chat for people to watch. It's amazing, and it makes me like wish that the rest of the church had that sort of support for building beautiful buildings that actually honor the Lord. Tom K. wants to inform the Calvinist Catholics that he's not going to stop listening to Mad Season, Rage Against the Machine, Tool, etc. Just know what you're listening. Just be, always be discerning. Kosher. That's funny, Chocolate. He's responding to Shloimoyo. They say that the Diamond Brothers maybe are the two witnesses from Revelation. I really hope not. What are the boundaries of the fifth commandment traditionally? In what case is killing just? I would go and look at just war theory, Dr. Mold, from like Thomas Aquinas came up with this. If there's just war theory, you can apply that to removing tyrants. You have a duty to defend your family. All those things. That's all just. But go find your catechism. I would go Catechism of St. Pius X. It's a variation of the Catechism of Trent, or your Baltimore Catechism, and read in there. They will tell you about thou shalt not commit homicide. The Jeep guy, the FSSP priests were originally ordained by the SSPX. Where's the jealousy? Yes, the first generation of FSSP priests were. They disagreed on the consecrations. That's where I break with the FSSP. I agree with the consecrations. I think that was totally justified. Like, how do people not think that the church is in a state of emergency right now, or even back then, especially after watching the SCC stuff? Jackie Forsteri, Cathedral SSPX is building in Kansas is to replace one that burned down several years ago. This is true. Since then, they've been attending Mass in the former refectory. That's the reason for building. Yes. And it's absolutely a stunning building. Bob says he attends a Byzantine Rite. He drives 1 hour away. There's a Roman parish within walking distance. You're in a rural area. No TLM. You love the Byzantine Rite. Right. My wife and I drive 90 minutes to get to the TLM. Almost all of it highway. And traditional liturgy in general, there's a reason people make the trip. It's important. Verum need food with a long shelf life? Ramen. It's also super cheap. There's no shortage of ramen. There was a few months ago, but that stuff is good well past its alleged expiration date. It's just not very good for you, but go. The other thing I would suggest, I don't know if you live in a state with a Winco Foods, but go find any store that has the bulk bins and go buy, if you're going to want things for long-term shelf storage, go buy your lentils, your dried peas, and all that stuff. And maybe it doesn't taste great by itself, but it's a source of protein, and it's a source of, good complex carbs. Sound of Crits, the TLM is responding to Bob. The TLM is at least 90 minutes away by car. Byzantine Catholic Rite is 10 minutes away. You also go to the Byzantine Rite for that reason. Oh, there you go. Roseanne Rossi, for long-term shelf storage, says yes. Oil, dried pasta, and canned tomato paste you can eat for months. You made a sauce with canned tuna fish. Right. Asks me how much more of a commie can Francis get. We have a long downward slope ahead of us. He's just, in my personal opinion, I think he's putting his own spin on Catholic social teaching, which preaches a widespread ownership of private property. That doesn't mean universal. And it's usually mitigated by, can people handle it? Not everybody can handle property ownership. That's obvious. So, I don't know. AMDG, the FSSP are not more in communion with Rome. That is misinformation. The SSPX are in communion with Rome. There's no partial communion. There's a canonical issue with them in terms of their canonical status, but it's not a communion issue. That's anti-SSPX propaganda. And honestly, if you're seeing anti-SSPX propaganda, know that what you're watching is stuff from people who are causing harm. Tesla Mech, I had to approve your comment here. What is the best way to deal with the iconoclasm? And those people who do not consider Catholics to be Christians. Defend the faith, but do it with some charity. You may eventually break through the barriers. Jackie says, I should tell my wife that there's a little learning curve to making pasta. The first time your daughter's made it wasn't ideal. There's a technique to get it mixed smoothly and then roll it out. Yeah, I'll let her know. She hasn't tried in a while, so I think she's waiting on that pasta maker. We're all like going, pretty sure Italy's fine now. Where's this thing? Can I recommend any good Catholic documentaries? Not really. There aren't that many good ones out there. Vox Populi does point out the problem with the FSSP is that the bishop can tell the fraternity priest to be silent, and they do. When they follow, they do. I've rarely heard controversial homilies at my parish. They're usually very much about the scripture reading of the day, which is fine. I mean, that's fine. But I've heard one FSSP priest in my time tackle the McCarrick issue, and it was right after it became headlines, and he was a little mad from the AMBO. Dr. Mold recall Kate Brown should be on the ballot in Oregon this fall. Is there an actual recall campaign against her, Dr. Mold? I'm actually from Oregon originally, and I was disheartened, to say the least, when she got reelected. That's when I knew that there were some problems in Oregon that people aren't talking about there. But if there's a decent shot at it, that'd be great. But remember, politicians who survive those efforts usually feel emboldened. That's why I don't think they're the best. Did I ever discern the priesthood? I did. I recommend a book for it called The Priest Is Not His Own by Fulton Sheen. It's a heavy book. I don't mean heavy like giant. I mean heavy like you read 2 pages and you want to put it down and think about what you just read. Sabah says you'll send a video via website message. Send it to my channel email, please. If you mean website message like the Leonin Institute website, I hardly ever check that email. If you mean my Return to Tradition one, that'll go to my personal one, and then I'll have to jump through hoops to respond properly. Anne is asking, how's my diet? I lost about 28 to 30 pounds. I stalled, and I'm just trying to get back on track. Roseanne says, she agrees with me about the SSPX. I can't go back to her parish church. A close walk since they shut us out. Thank God an SSPX is half an hour drive. Right. I live 2 minutes from a diocesan parish. I go to confession there because the priest is good, but that was the last Novus Ordo parish I was a member of, and I just can't anymore. Tesla does just 4.3 apply to tyrannical clerics. No, it doesn't. When you first attended a Byzantine church, they bent over backwards. Do you make you feel at home? Says Bob. In fact, I missed Sunday, and the priest called to see if he was okay. Wow, that's cool. Imagine that. Brian O'Connor, St. Augustine came up with Hus Bello. This is true, but St. Thomas Aquinas, of course, represented it and expanded on it. Jackie stocked way up on ramen too. I just gave away a bunch of ramen because just weeks before I started back on low carb, I had bought online some really high quality, expensive ramen. And the ramen I'm talking about is like Maruchan ramen, top ramen. That stuff, the 25 cents a pack stuff, the stuff that used to be a nickel a pack when I was a kid. Rice paper used for spring rolls have a long shelf life too. That's good to know. I like rice paper. Habat. Okay. Hadass says, has a link. Let me see if I can find it. Yes. Here we go. I will put this in the chat myself. All right, so here's a link to their YouTube channel for that parish video. It's wonderful. Prepper recommendations, beans, things for your implements, bouillon, and Bibles. Yeah. Jerry Pollock, the SSPX are not in schism. I ban people. I will ban you for that. Literally, nothing frustrates me faster than people opining about canon law who literally don't know what they're talking about. They are not in schism. Seriously, this stuff makes me want to shut off my stream. What is wrong with the SSPX canonical status? They disagree with the Vatican on 15% of Vatican II, saying that it's heretical. That's what the problem is. And they got started outside the authority of the Vatican. although their seminary was founded with the full approval of the local bishop, the ordinations of bishops were done without Vatican approval. But they cite the state of emergency in the church post-council as a reasoning, and it's on its face true that there's a state of emergency in the church. We watched in the 80s a since canonized pope allow horrible things to happen at Assisi, right in front of him, including like idols placed on an altar with our Lord taken out of the tabernacle. Like it was horrific stuff. Like there were monks who tried to break into that parish to stop it from happening, and they got arrested. I don't understand why people don't understand this. If you're watching anti-SSPX material, you should stop. It warps your brain thinking on this. Hadah says, I agree with that. Church militant rabid hate of the SSPX is detestable. It's why I finally turned them off. I don't think they're credible. Julia says, stock up on food and spiritual items. This is true. Let's see. Colasio Roma says he believes the first consideration for the Catholic support of a politician ought to be anti-Moloch. In today's climate is often the last. What do you think should be the order of priority? Well, that should be the first. Should be the first. What you said there, Colasio, should be the first. It's not for most people, but it should be. Vox Populi says a lot of people are very misinformed about the SSPX. It's true. They have an irregular situation. Someday it'll get sorted out. Probably about the time that we get the debate that I keep giving you videos about between priests and bishops about Vatican II. Once that's sorted out, that will be taken care of. Katie Collades recommends Watchmen of the Night about the tried Benedictine monks in France. There you go. There's one recommendation. Sound of Crits. The Institute Christ the King Sovereign Priests are also independent of the local priest. Yeah, that is true. I think they have to be invited by the bishop, and they can put the kibosh on things, but they are a priestly fraternity like everything else. Bye, Jerry. Dr. Mold, there's a motivated group in the Mid-Valley collecting signatures, but you don't think there's a good shot of her actually getting voted out. Right. It's one of the reasons why people say, you ever coming back to Oregon? I'm like, no. You have the most corrupt governor in the state's history, and y'all just re-elected them. Hadah, I think I just checked, put it in the chat already. What does it mean that the SSPX does not have public ministry? They have a public ministry. I don't even know what people. It's just nonsense. We went to a parish and the priest said Jesus magically appeared and that he was present but not physically present. This is the first communion mass. Oh boy, Stephanie, I would find another parish. Assisi is so similar to Amazon's Synod with the atrocities. Right, Assisi was basically the Pachamama Institute round one. That's what it was. People like, if I say, yeah, the church is in a state of emergency because Pachamama, people will be like, oh yeah, totally. If I say the church has been in a state of emergency since the 70s because of the 70s and the 80s and including Assisi, people go, well, I don't know. Sound of Crits, I don't really want to go into it, but I hear things. That's all I can say. If you want a personal answer, email me. I'll eventually get to it. Aaron G, no problem. It's like, I don't even go to Mass with the SSPX, but I'll defend them. Like, they deliver the sacraments when no one else will. Francis gave them ordination faculties without permission of the local bishop. They're not in schism, and anybody who says that is watching too much anti-SSPX propaganda. Stephanie Weir says, we are all suffering from disorientation to how much, don't know how we can hate other Catholics so much when we're all lost and confused. Remember that we all labor under the diabolic disorientation of the church, in the church. When will that be lifted? I don't know. Maybe after all these prophecy things come to pass. I don't know. And ask, will there be discussion between priests and bishops about Vatican II? I mean, it's sort of going on with these public letters. I have another one for you later in the week. That's going on right now. And it's an informal one, and it's sort of orbiting around Vigano, right? that's what's going on. Michelangelo asks, any red flags to watch out about the Fatima movie coming out later this week? From what I hear, the Fatima Center is fine with it. So that's a good endorsement. So go check it out. I will see if I can watch it this week. AMDG again. I don't know if you want a personal answer. Send me an email. It gets into the territory of me talking about other commentators and things, and I don't like doing it. My patience with that topic is gone. Brandybook says, thanks for talking about the SSPX positively. It's a rare thing to hear, sadly, and 4 members of your family are SSPX priests and 3 nuns by their fruits. Wow. No, that's... I would be thrilled. Like, if my wife and I have, say, 3 sons, and all 3 became priests, I would be totally fine with it. That would mean that my wife and I did some things right as parents, even if my kid liked Winnie the Pooh a little too much, Sound of Crits points out that the SSPX saved tradition in the Latin Rite. It's pretty much true. I mean, yes, there were a few holdout priests in various dioceses that their bishops tolerated, but that wouldn't have been enough. Bye, Anthony. I know, Sharon, I know every stream boils down to the SSPX. Well, at some point, it's going to cause me to stop doing streams. I will nuke people off my channel if they're spreading misinformation. I have zero tolerance for misinformation in my chat. When is the date that Fatima movie is coming out? Asked Total War. It's probably this Friday. From what I hear, well, it's the 28th, so yeah, it'd be Friday. That's what I hear. The same date, for those of you paying attention, it's the same date as that Bill and Ted movie. Choose wisely. Because the Catholic Church is a whole scared of the return to tradition movement. Why? Because it's fully Catholic. I don't know why I had to approve your comment, AMDG, but I did. Roseanne says that the Bishop of Kazakhstan, whose name I can't even say on my channel anymore for one weird reasons, has said that the Society of St. Pius X is saving the church right now. If they're good for him, it's good enough for me. And he spent 2 years observing them or something for the Vatican, an official capacity. I'll take him over any commentator. Remember, we're talking about authority here. It was described by him and by Benedict XVI as an internal family argument. They wouldn't call it that if there was schism. Tesla Mac, they were surprised they haven't tried to excommunicate Vigano. They probably will try, if I had to guess, but the problem is you have to basically serve that in person. And you have to go face your accuser in person, and they're not going to do it. They're going to ignore him. Did I see the voting envelopes identify your party? Yeah, I did see that, Beth Watkins. I don't know how many states are going to do the mail system. That's one of the things. That's the only thing that I'm worried about with coming November. Da says, let's change the subject. Yes, the person who goes to Mass with the SSPX would like us to change the subject, and I agree. Shelley Keller says, just seeing the Fatima movie trailer alone, you will not watch nor support it. I really need to go check that trailer out. Again, the Fatima Center seems okay with it, but I don't know. Sound of Grace, come on, don't let 2% ruin the stream for 98%. We are the 98%. Tesla Mac, no, I don't plan to cancel streams, but sometimes I get frustrated. And I'm going to do like I said earlier, now there's about 130 other people here now that I say this. I'm thinking about doing an experiment in the coming days of trying to stream on DLive to see, because I don't like dancing around issues. They have their own super chat system. They have all their own stuff there, and it's not perfect. It's not Ayn Rand's free speech utopia or anything over there, which is fine. I wouldn't want that either. But there's a reason a lot of people who are over there now are over there. Does the church approve homeopathy in general? Thanks for the live stream. What do you mean by homeopathy? Do you mean like I recommended earlier, people using turmeric for swelling? Once upon a time, most medicine was that. I will try my best not to stop streaming, Gwyneth. I may experiment with another place, but that's about it. How long have we been doing this now? Over an hour. Good. Brandy Book reminds us that the church is an official blessing for herbs. They think they're okay with it. Yeah, herbal remedies. I mean, the church was the primary provider of medicine throughout the Middle Ages, so, you know. Can we have a link to your DLive channel? I don't have a DLive channel yet. I will put one. If I do it, I will probably do a community post in the coming days, and I'll probably try to give some kind of early warning in a video or something. Unotco, what's my opinion on distributism? I consider myself philosophically a distributist. I don't spend much time on it because we're nowhere near implementing it. And no, it's not socialism. People who tell you that either don't know what they're saying or they're lying to you. Those are your two options. Because the distributists, Chesterton, Belloc, and everybody who came from them, spent their time arguing against socialism because they saw it for what it was. You know, and people who usually call it socialism don't know what socialism is anyway. They call everything that's like to the left of Ronald Reagan socialism. The Catholic Economics Podcast with a super chat. Well, if you haven't heard the Catholic Economics Podcast, speaking of distributism, you might want to check it out. I wouldn't call it necessarily a distributist podcast, but he has done some very good defenses of the ideas, and as the name of his show suggests, he's an economist. Go check it out. All you have to do is search for Catholic Economics Podcast. I've had him on before. Maybe I'll reach out and do another one again. Zini, if you use two places for streaming, you might get confused about your vocabulary. I don't know. Like, some of that stuff is my brand, right? Like, calling people Moloch worshippers, that's kind of my brand at this point, and I have no problem with that. I'll probably keep doing it. The oldest pharmacy was built by monks in Florence, is now owned by descendants of a monk. There you go. Right? So, herbal remedies, as long as they're like real herbal remedies, like people go, like, this is going to sound weird from a trad type, but if there is any truth to a certain oil that you see being promoted, derived from a certain plant that is used to make rope, if there's truth to that stuff, then I'm fine with it. I know for a fact that stuff doesn't, cause your, the conditions that it's close cousin plant that people like to use illicitly. That stuff, it's not the same thing. I'm just skeptical of the claims a lot of times. Brandy Buck says hello to Catholic Economics. How do I identify the words on YouTube that are not allowed? Watching content that's not in my own sphere. So, for instance, that bad guy with the airplane and that nasty island who totally didn't self-delete, as a nerd commentator I like described it? He had a video demonetized that was vanilla. It was energetic like most of his content, but it was completely demonetized because he mentioned that in the video. And he did it explicitly. That's banned. That's a banned one. If you know what the term Seville means, that one is too. What if SSPX becomes in full acceptance with the Vatican? Then would FSSP and Christ the King remain separate fraternities, or they all unite as one? I would hope they'd remain separate. The more the merrier. I would be okay if they got a guaranteed one traditionalist bishop who oversaw everything. Like, can you imagine if the bishop of Kazakhstan became the archbishop from Kazakhstan, but was given a Roman curial position and was given sort of the managerial authority over all of them? That would be kind of cool. At least I think it would be as an outsider. I'm not, I know there are probably reasons not to do that though. AMDG, you're strongly against acupuncture. Well, so is the church. That one, that's not the same thing as herbal remedies, though. A lot of people here shouting out Catholic Economics Podcast. If you are not familiar, go check it out. It's, a little drier than a lot, and it's not what we call, scandal mongering, and that's good. People need sometimes a little higher thought or higher thinking on things. There's nothing wrong with that. Cello, yes, no problem. That public rosary, we need more of the public rosary. So yeah, no problem with doing a little exposure for that. Where do I personally stand with respect to the spooky F ideology? Oh, you mean the third positionism? Is it necessary to embrace it to put distributism in action? Tesla Mac, my thought about it is I consider myself a monarchist, but I'm also smart enough to know you're never going to have an election for a king in the United States. And the only way you're going to get there is with something like that. And to get there, I think we're headed that way. if you want a good book on the subject, I would read Star Spangled Crown by Charles Cologne, which you should read anyway. And the way the United States in that book gets a king is by a total collapse of the executive branch. Just total collapse. And it's outlined in a story form in the first few pages of the book. And it's done, if you're familiar with Charles Cologne, it's got his humor all throughout it. And there's a couple little Easter eggs in there that you can easily miss. Like give you some hints on his opinions about things. But it's written as sort of a soft history book for popular consumption, written in the future, written like 150 years from now. Read that, and that is essentially my position. I will say that I find it funny when people will be like, oh yes, I totally agree with you about rejecting rejecting the lies of the liberal culture and then accepting their narrative of history. That's funny to me. Muscle testing is very questionable by alternative doctors. If that's what you mean by acupuncture, yeah, I would say agree. Santa Maria Novella is the name of the prescription in Florida. Oh, okay, very good. Lost my spot. Hello to you, Alexander. Let's see. Gabriel says, I've spoken with Tried Patrick and promoted his show on your podcast. Now you avoid spicy topics by name, but he's a little more than spicy. Do you agree with him on politics and race? I think this goes back to being open to questioning everything of the liberal order. You have to question everything of the liberal order, especially if you actually respect human dignity. The church commands us to respect human dignity, and that also includes embracing reality and rejecting liberalism. And that's a tough question. I think we're seeing the unraveling of the American Republic right now. And as a consequence, we're headed towards something. No, we all know that we're headed towards something. We don't know what it is. So on politics, he uses that F word to describe himself. I tend to use the monarchist word to describe myself. But I also admit that we're probably going to have some transitory period that is going to be very unpleasant, and it will probably involve that ideology or some variation of it. The race issue, again, it goes back to, do you accept the liberal narrative or not? We're not even allowed to have discussions about this. You notice how I'm even talking about this? You're not even allowed to have discussions about it. And I want us to at least have the discussion, because it's very clear that everything going on right now shows that entire narrative has already been rejected in the culture to some degree, and that rejection is growing. Anyway, Jaron reminds us that the SSPX will not compromise until Rome comes back to tradition. What about kinesiology? Isn't that the exercise science? You should look at Neil McConnell here in Ireland. He's bringing the fight back into Catholics in Ireland and has taken action against her. Good. If you want to email me a link to some stuff he's done online, is he one of the guys who shows up on Dave Cullen's channel and Computing Forever sometimes? His show is becoming sort of quasi more Catholic as time goes on. It's not really, faith related content, but Jaron finds economics difficult. Well, you should check out the economics podcast then. It's not scandal and news most of the time. So he's giving you more more important information in some ways. Have I heard the Catholic Talk Show? They talk a lot about funny and exciting things. Learned a lot from them. I have not heard the Catholic Talk Show. How do you live by the fourth commandment when your parent is a compulsive liar and an atheist? You pray for their conversion, and you follow their just commands. That's what you do. Is that what the speaker wants? Asks Roseanne in reference to whatever bad we're having. I don't know. Stephanie says a problem with some traditional groups is that the parishioners take on a cult-like exclusive club-type attitude. I think you see that mostly on social media, to be honest with you. Some of them take a bunker mentality because they've in some communities they've had a bad rap. That was sort of like the SSPX in Oklahoma City. Catholic Economics says to Jaron, check out the list of suggested books under the About Us section on the Leonin Institute website. He's referring to the suggested books on, I would believe it would be on both economics and Catholic social teaching. It's not just, this organization that we're making some vague references to isn't just a distributist thing, but it's in general Catholic social teaching. So, Brandy Book, did I hear about the public school mandatory sleepovers? No, I don't think so. Tom K says he likes the spicy meatball more every day. Well, yeah, he makes no apologies for what he's doing. I'm enjoying his series on Mosley right now. But yeah, check out, Catholic Economics tells you to check out his show. He's a friend of mine, so, give him free plugs. Try to be realistic and practical with his discussions. Yes, it's a grounded in reality show that isn't just, this bad thing is happening, so. And causal, I've not seen the letters you mean Veganos. He's written, there's several letters, there's been several debates, and I post all my sources on my sources list. Or my sources blog. So everything, just go to the show notes. Every article's got a title identical to or similar to a video that I did, and you can find links to everything there. Do I have an opinion on 3 Days of Darkness? Nick, you must be new. I've done several videos on it. Go check them out. In Tennessee, they make parents sign an agreement that they won't eavesdrop. Right, and that's, any parent worth their salt immediately knows that they're going to need to buy some remote software for remote screen capping while their kids are in school. Three Cedars Homestead correctly says the narrative of history was written and promoted by the stonecutters. And once you realize that, you have to question literally every aspect of it. Because the answer to how do we live in a more just, human dignity, respecting society in accordance with what the church says isn't always going to be what the values of the world say, as uncomfortable as that is. Brandy Book has watched a few of Catholic Economics episodes and endorses it. There you go. The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Kinesiology is just glorified muscle testing. Is it against God? It is. I don't know how muscle testing is against God, but, Son of Chris says in their country they didn't even have that institution. That is the excuse for the agents of chaos, and are still complaining about the stronger word for discrimination. That's because the cultural version of the subversion of the culture through a new variation of Marxism is it's real, and it's widespread. I don't think the Fatima warning about global communism is going to be what people think. I don't think you're ever going to necessarily see the red flag of hammer and sickle over every country in the world and necessarily redistribution of private property. They're just going to get you to think like that and adopt the attitudes, the social attitudes that go with it. Do I think most women should not go to college? Fam, I don't think most people should go to college in general. Like, why? The vast majority of people have no reason to go to college. And is now asking if weightlifting bad because of the kinesiology talk. No, it's not. Don't get so disordered with it that it becomes like your religion. All eyes on the prize, people. Remember, eyes on our Lord. Not, but weightlifting is fine as exercise and it's a hobby. Roseanne says you miss Steve Crowder for me. Well, the nice thing about Crowder is his shows on YouTube can be watched at any time, so. I haven't watched one of his in a while. I should. Denise says that she watched the Fatima movie trailer more times than they can count. It still brings you to tears. You can't wait to see the movie. But in New Jersey, the theaters are still closed. Anybody remember the name of the movie from the 50s about Fatima? I should watch that and review that for the channel, too. If I'm going to do, the new Fatima movie review, I should do both. I'm going to avoid the race subject as much as possible. It's not the subject of my show. Shelley Kelly is two things that stood out were the Virgin Mary appeared on the ground and was not wearing what the children described, and Lucia's attitude of defiance against her mom. Ew. Brandy Book says they will send me a link to the public school's mandatory sleepover thing. Huh. Movies were 15 cents a theater here, maybe to draw more people back in. That might be a good... I'm hoping that when the theaters reopen this week, you're going to get a combination of some of the new movies that are coming out that are all... Like, the summer movie season is moving to fall. That's why you're getting, Bill and Ted coming out this weekend. I'm hoping you're going to get that and an opportunity to see, Return of the Jedi in the theaters, because that'd be great. Not that I can go see movies, because how do you go see a movie with a 2-year-old? Can Marxism be actively counter-subverted? Yes, through the spread of the gospel. I think that's the only real antidote. Or you take the strongman positions. That's the more probably grounded one. Are those who follow the Novus Ordo religion Christians or Marxists? A bit of both. It depends on the person. Not everyone who goes to the new mass and is at a new parish is a problem, right? Like plenty of people are traditionally minded who are in those parishes and at those masses, and they get the Eucharist there. I know this from experience, but I still took my family to the to traditionalist parishes. Vacant schools across the country could be converted easily to shelters for the growing homeless population. They all have commercial kitchens and many restrooms. Right, and I'm one of those who would hope that public schools go away. Sound of crits, yes, yeah, I do. I'm well aware that you're in Poland, so there's that. Google account. What are my thoughts on Catholics for the incumbent? It's typical election year stuff. It really is. Being part of that is not that big of a deal. I used to work in campaigns, so I know this stuff. If you're the head of one of those campaigns, that's a pretty big deal. But if you're part of one, not necessarily. Sea Dog, the Song of Bernadette. Is that the Fatima movies, the Song of Bernadette? Tom Case likes to remind us that Crowder isn't our guy and he's Canadian. The only Canadian who should be allowed to remain in America is Norm Macdonald. I have my issues with Crowder, but like there are times where I do want to laugh at silly things going on there, and he's probably the safest of the softly crude people. Luque says he thinks the movie's called The Miracle at Fatima or something like that. Yeah, I want to go watch that again. I've never seen it. Ha Ying, I was asked this question earlier in the stream. No, I can't find anything on that documentary, and I don't know what's going on. I'm going to start looking, honestly, for it. Or maybe I should just find a way to contact Dr. Krasnowski or Chosnowski. He would know. John in PA says The Miracle of Our Lady of Fatima is a Warner Color feature film made in 1952. There you go. Miracle of Our Lady of Fatima. That's what it's called. And he plans on having a show with Steve Franson. I don't know who Steve Franson is, Spirit of Alex. I need to probably skip past some of this because I'm getting pretty far behind. Is women's suffrage tied to our drift to authoritarian Marxism? Dr. Molden, I honestly, this is going to bug some people, I'll say yes, honestly. But I'm not a big fan of, like, widespread voting anyway. I would actually return to a modified version of 1820 if I could, but that's just me. Have I heard of the new Christian Channel streaming service? The guy from Real Crusade, his YouTube channel is lead writer on one of those shows. I have not heard about that. Oh, Son of Chris is in Hungary, not Poland. But your country is best friends with Poland. Oh, there you go. Three Cedars Homestead says the realization about the stonecutters and indoctrination was the real truth pill for this boomer trend. I've stopped using red pill because it comes from a Gnostic movie. Yeah, I think the term red pill is useful slang because people understand it, but the origins, I mean, the movie it came from is only entertaining if you don't allow yourself to think about what you're watching too much. Did I ever watch One American News? No. I watch a lot of Tim Pool. I spend a lot of time watching original footage from places on Twitter. Brandy Buck says in news, Michigan is shutting down farms because of the affliction, as if they're trying to starve us out. Everybody should be concerned about that. This is kind of why I was telling people, don't be afraid to start prepping for fall or for fall and winter. You should be doing that soon. Yeah. What do I say about Ben Shapiro? I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him or any of his employees, to be honest with you. Tom K. Franson is an America First guy. Mormon, lives in Montana on DLive. I don't want to give non-Catholics a space on my platform. People who support the red ideology have never been an actual country where it's been fully implemented. If they would find out and not have much support. Right. Well, they're taught about like myths about it. My favorite of this is the idea. It's a really ridiculous idea. I've heard a history professor say this, that, Stalin allegedly did X million people. And they sound the way people who talk about who certain types of people who talk about the that thing that happened in World War II with the guy with the mustache and our elder brothers. They talk about it the way that they talk about it. Let's see. Then Rossi gives a shout out to the country of Hungary. It looks like your country's target of the left. They are calling your movement for freedom anti-democracy. That's funny. Do I think a version of the Freikorps will emerge in the U.S. to counter the Marxists? I think you're seeing things happen now, the beginnings of something. I don't know. Like, did you hear about the things that happened overnight in Wisconsin? Miniature headgear issue? Sound of Crits, I tend to agree with you on Mr. Shapiro. Let's see how long we got. I'll probably call it shortly. Sharon, what about Michael Knowles? Not a fan. Let's see. Exon Verdray says, what is what called a Christian who was Catholic and the other's an atheist who is now Catholic? Goes to show how well our Catholic schools are. Yeah. Brandy Book, I do watch the Ice Age Farmer sometimes. It's one of the reasons why that guy is very knowledgeable, and I will second the endorsement of the Ice Age Farmer podcast. Check that out. He's knowledgeable. I don't know what his religious convictions are, if any. He seems to be a very reasonable person who is very knowledgeable about about some of these food issues. You should go check that out and take what he's saying seriously. If he's wrong, well, okay, then in March or something, you're going to be able to make a nice donation to your parish food pantry. That's not a bad thing. Does the purple scapular have to have wool straps too? I'm not sure. I would honestly Google account. I would just buy them from the people who are making them online, who are like tied to Marie Julie Jeheny in some way. Do I think it's too late to consecrate Russia? No, it's not too late, but it will be done, but it'll be done late. I don't think it'll be done too late, though. Aware of different species in Genesis is wrong. Denying Scripture is a sin. No. Peter, I would say the answer to your question is probably it's the beginnings, like the early phases of it, yes. Jaron, I don't like Knowles. I don't care for Knowles because of the Lady MAGA thing. I don't care for Knowles because it's very normie tier conservative stuff. Like, people embracing that ideology because what else is there is one thing. But like people, thinking we're gonna solve our country's problems with more free markets and tax cuts. That's a gigantic problem for me, and that's Knowles. And he's not doing a terribly great job of standing up against the social collapse and the collapse of values here. It's like the core of the problem. Okay. All right. I'm going to call it here because I've got some things I got to do today. So anyway, folks, I am going to go and check. I plan to do this on Sunday at around the usual time, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Otherwise, if I asked you to send me emails, send me some emails. I'll take a look. I see that I've got at least one in my box now, so that's good. And so, yeah, you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and God bless.